Hey, what's up? And welcome to a new episode of the Wonderful Conversation series. I'm just so excited about this new project where we get the chance to chat with really, really cool people on how a more wonderful life is accessible for all of us, and hear their stories, very, very real stories of life transformed and insight on the nature of who we really are. So I'm excited because today, the chat you're gonna listen to is with Usha, and she's just a really, really, really cool, fun, um, inspiring person. And what comes out, what really struck me of the chat we had, is this idea that I think we can all sort of share. It's probably something we kind of all thought about sooner or later, which is this desire of doing good, doing well in the world, and have an impact. Okay? And the really cool thing is that how at a certain point of our chat, it becomes clear to both of us how the way, the very, the real source of impact, the real source of doing good in the world comes from an unexpected yet obvious place. And so I let you discover it, and it's gonna be. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy the conversation. It's very, very pleasant. She's really fun, really bright, and yeah. I see you next time. And before I go, as usual, just a quick reminder of the campfire at the edge of the world. That's the space where we get to explore these themes, these topics in different forms with live webinars, video lessons, the Facebook group. There's so much value in there. And if you are a person who feels that there's more to them that is coming out yet, that you'd like to have a more solid ground, you would like to be able to face, what you don't know with confidence, with wonder, with hope, rather than with fear and control. If you want to taste freedom, please at least have a look at the page. Check out, see if it's for you. If you have questions, I'm here, and I hope to see you around the campfire. See you next time. Bye bye. Welcome again. Thank you so much, Usha, for being here. We met through a Michael Neal program, and as I was telling you just 30 seconds ago, when I thought about who would I want to have some of these conversations with, you just came to my mind together with a bunch of other people, and I'm very excited. We managed with time zones to be here, and as usual, I'd like to start, as I was saying, just if kind of in a minute or two, was sort of like, you know, where are you at? What are you up to? Like, who's Usha, or at least what do you want to share here in
Right.
the moment? Kind of get a little bit of context, and then we
Okay.
and then we go and we see where we get.
Okay. Let's see. How do I do this? I don't. I, I'm. I'm in transition as to where I am in my life, right? And I think that I've been thinking a lot about that because I think I always had such a negative feeling about that. And then it occurred to me as I looked at people my age. I'm 53, and I'm looking at people my age, and I'm saying, I think a lot of people go through this. Like it's normal, right? You go through life, and then one day you're like, something ends, something big ends, and then you realize that that big thing was like boring and you were ready for it to go. And then you find yourself in transition. I think it happens, I think it's called a midlife crisis. But I always thought it was a bad thing. And through, it's funny, we met through Michael Neal, right? But through Michael Neal and through his understanding of how things change, I've come to realize that midlife crisis unfortunately has a terrible name, but it's
Yeah.
actually like midlife genius or midlife huge change or midlife wonderful, you know. So
I
I'm in
love this.
transition. Yeah, I know I'm in transition. And I even hate that word because, we always say, I used to say, oh, someone died or this death happened or my father died or, and it was such a heartfelt feeling. And then somebody said to me one day, in this new age thinking, people don't say death anymore. They say, oh, he transitioned. So now, now
Now they
suddenly
ruined
the
that
word,
word.
I know. So now suddenly the word I'm in transition sounds horrible. It sounds as bad. It sounds as bad as midlife crisis, right? So
Mm.
when people ask me, like you've asked me right now, what is Usha? What is she doing? And I'm like, I don't know what to say because I'm looking for a word for what I'm doing. And I'm kind of interested in this conversation now because it suddenly occurred to me, I'm not in transition because I'm not dying. And I'm not in midlife crisis because I'm not in crisis. I'm in this huge change and it's good. And you know, I remember like menopause. People say, oh, the big change. I gotta say, that's like such a negative thing also, like death, you know.
Mm.
But change, I'm starting to realize in this conversation, is good. Transitioning is not like I died and I'm transitioning. No, I died. Suddenly died doesn't feel negative anymore because the words that we've invented become worse. Because so what? The person I was before died, finished, over. It's just a new beginning. Isn't
I
it
I
weird?
I really love this thing about the midlife crisis, like a midlife genius
Midlife. Yes.
opportunity. That's pretty awesome. And but what I got curious in me was like, what? Because it's like, because initially I realized like, oh yeah, yeah, of course, I was nodding. But then somehow it occurred to me like, I I'm not sure I see that in my life. I realized I was listening and I saw like, yeah, it makes sense. But I got curious, like, what do you like when you say change, right? Forget the word transition, whatever, but
Whatever.
what is it? Because, and I got really curious because to me right now it really looks like, you know, you can remove midlife, you can remove, you can just say, oh, life.
Yeah.
Because in a way I thought, okay, yeah, but maybe a specific thing, like, oh well, like before I was doing this job and now I'm gonna do a different job. But if you kind of go and look, it seems to me that whether it's a new relationship or of any kind, or a new passion or a new job, but it seems like even the same job is not always the same job over time. So I
Right.
got really curious, what is it to you, when you actually see it as there is a before and after, or at least that's how I heard it. So I wanted to kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm starting to realize that there is no before and after.
Mm.
There just is life. Like that's the realization I've been slowly coming to. That
Okay.
this like time. I heard one day, like the more I think and the more I read and the more I see, you know, we have all these moments of like deja vu. We feel we've met somebody. And I always wondered, like, I love science fiction. And I always wondered this whole thing about time. We see it at linear because we need to understand, born, live, die. I was happy, I'm not happy. It's like yes or no, black or white, good or bad. And it fits so beautifully in that timeline, right?
Yeah.
And then we have death. Like, I'm sorry, I'm talking about death because it's been a lot on my mind. I'm in a writing class, so for some reason my mind has been going there, and that's how I'm in a writing program, and this is just keeps coming up for me. And so, I realize in science fiction, there's always this feeling, like those CDs, those blank CDs that they used to sell that came in a big thing like this,
Yes.
right? Right. And so it occurred to me that time is just like this. It's all happening at the same time, maybe. That maybe what we're experiencing right now, we're already experiencing. It's all happening. That's why you have the sense of, oh, this person, I don't like him, because maybe we've already experienced this person. I don't know. Now I'm really going somewhere I don't want to go. But my point is, I think it's funny. Why am I going there? But my point is, I'm starting to realize that there is no before and after. There is no transitioning. There is no change. There is no midlife crisis. It's just kind of like life. You have an experience and you live it, all of it, good, bad, unhappy, and then it's over. Just that moment is over. and you're just going on. You know, I don't know if that makes sense to you. Like, I don't know if I'm even talking in any way. I
I love that the concept of time, because I think I have the same sense of you, that sort of like, okay, I mean, this idea of this linear thing, it doesn't seem so objective anymore, you know. It doesn't seem
yeah,
like, oh yeah, of course. I don't have, like, to be honest, I can't tell you like, well, like, this is how it's time for me. Like, I don't know, right?
right, right.
But so I don't have words, but as I was listening, I kind of had a feeling. So yeah, you know, somehow I also, you know, I feel that there is something there. I don't know if it's a stack of CDs or if it's, but you know, but the thing is, it seems, and the more people you know, I talk to, and in different ways, you know, we're not the only people kind of having this sense of like, oh, maybe it's not so sequential as it seems.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's fascinating. And but yeah, that's kind of where my ability to articulate it ends.
yeah.
I
I don't think as humans we have real words. I think if we were able to communicate in a different way without words, I think we would really understand more.
yeah.
You know, I think it's very limiting. Words are limiting, and that's why when you say in 1 minute or what is it, I'm going through this big transition and I'm trying to find a word for it, and it's not transition because it's I just think I think I'm living. I think I'm really just living now.
But how cool is that? Like, because I, you know, that because it keeps coming. I get it. I think I did use, and I will use probably the word like, oh yeah, you know, this is it's a transition, or like, you know, it's a period, you know, in this period of my life.
Yeah.
But how cool it is, when even for a second, to get a glimpse of that even that I'm making it up. You know?
Exactly. That's exactly what I've been thinking about. Like you articulated it, but that's how I've been like feeling it in my head, you know? All of it is made up.
And I think that the moment we make it up, and we don't see it, like, then we sort of have opinions about this, because this is a thing. And okay, so how do I want to experience this transition? Well, like, I'm gonna transition with a smile, and the
Yeah.
other person but it's when you see like, dude, you know, there is, because I never thought about it in these terms. So I thank you for kind of bringing it up. But to me, kind of clicked the moment that I was listening to it. It's like, okay, but so, you know, there has to be a before and after if there's a transition, you know?
Right.
And how do you, you know, because when you start looking at that, it's like, oh, okay, if I think about me when I define periods of my life, where does it start? Where does it end? And how arbitrary is that, you know? Because I can say like, well, there was a period that started when I started university and it finished when I finished university. But even that, it was just one of the variables of a lot of other things that were happening.
Yeah.
Or I could divide it by relationships. Well, like, there was a period where I was with this person and then with this person. But it kind of becomes less relevant when you see like, oh, okay, you know, I'm making it up. And what
Right.
remains, as you're saying, is life. But the cool thing is that I think the idea of saying, like what you were saying, midlife wonderful, midlife opportunity, I think that bit remains. The
Yeah.
difference that it applies to life all the time.
Yeah.
How, you
Yeah.
know, so you don't even have
Yeah.
to be in midlife to see opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? It's just,
Yeah. You know, I think that we put words to things. We have a big change and we're older. We have all these words to experience, you know, we have all this life experience. So we say, this is midlife crisis. I don't think children do that. Children go from nursery school to first grade, and then from sixth grade to seventh grade to ninth grade. Then they graduate, you know, and they just move. They never say, "Oh my God, I'm having a midlife crisis.
oh no.
I'm graduating from sixth grade." They don't say those things. They don't say those things. We do that as we get older. We do that as we go because we have to make somehow sense of the change. Maybe it's overwhelming. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's always, I guess, a good reason why we come out with stories. But
Right.
it's always cool to see them, to say like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, that's where I am right now. If you ask me, going back to your original question,
okay.
I'm in that process of seeing all that and just noticing. That's why, when you talked about the podcast and all that, it really dawned on me. It's just like a midlife crisis, a transition. If I look at the end product, the podcast, it's too much. If I look at the fact that I'm in this big transition, it's just too much. But if I just know that I'm moving, right now I'm experiencing the three principles, or I'm experiencing Michael Neal, I'm experiencing my creativity. I think it's like swimming, it's nice, it's smooth.
It is, absolutely. And I was, that's actually what you said, right? Like when we're talking about timeout, then words are limiting. And I thought the moment we define a transition, like the moment we create this, well, this is me following my heart, right? I think it becomes limiting because then suddenly we're sort of like start doing or try to do all the things we think fit into the me following my heart, and we feel we can't do a bunch of things that it's the old me. And whether it's probably easier to just follow your art step by step, and
Yeah,
maybe that means, who knows, maybe you actually in 3 years you end up in the same job position you were before, but it's not the same, right?
it's not the same.
But the risk is that if you kind of label it, there are a bunch of options that suddenly are not available anymore.
Right.
And I'm finding in this period of my life that the game is to expand opportunities, not to define and shrink, And yeah, it's funny like how even just the moment we kind of like, I'm going through a rough patch, that already is extending that into the future, which means like, okay, I'm in this thing, which means tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and I will still be in this thing.
Right.
And we miss the opportunity maybe of waking up and being somewhere completely different.
Right.
Yeah, I'm feeling better today, but I'm still in a rough patch. So, and I've never seen it this way, and I think it's pretty cool. And how defining chunks of time becomes
Limiting.
limiting. That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. That's such a big thing to know.
And one thing is occurring to me is also that transition, change, to me, for how I hear it, implies incompletedness, if you know what I mean. Sort of like, so I was this, and that was complete, and I'm going towards this, but right now I'm sort of in this in between land. I'm not, I'm not done. I'm not finished right now. I'm in the, and it implies that there will be a moment where the change is finished, where you finally, okay, well now I'm evolved. Now I'm level 2, and that is tricky because then they're going, okay, but what are you now? Like, what, and I guess it creates the idea like, yeah, a little bit this idea of like, okay, I can't wait to see who I'm gonna be at the end of this change.
Right.
Versus like being more and more present to who you are now.
Right.
Wow. How does that? Because I saw a post of yours recently about this finding your purpose, and you spent some time with some leaders, or I don't know exactly the details. How is this relevant for how you see it with whatever you saw about the importance of, you know, living a more purposeful life, or putting whatever phrase you want, but kind of what did you see like in that realm?
You know what I saw that for me that weekend was very good, interesting, because I saw, you know, all my life I saw leaders trying to do, you know, big things, but big things that were like, oh, the economy, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I saw people who had done a lot of things, right? But it was not enough for them anymore. That really was very telling to me, because, you know, that thing about I'm here and this is where I want to be, but I'm not really here. I'm in transition, so I'm not complete. These people had completed and they were still like, they were still searching, and where they had landed was that it's not about becoming, because you already are, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about always creating and doing things that will end up big, just simply because nothing can be bigger than what comes from the heart and is in the heart. Is it bigger because the world sees you? You know, I don't know. I just saw suddenly a difference in the way the world is moving. That's why I found that weekend so profound, because I found people interested, not, you know, making money is important, but there was this sense of, but I want to do something. You know, and before you would say, I want to make a difference. I can't speak for everybody else, but it occurred to me, and this is why the weekend was so important to me. For the first time, I saw it for myself. I want to make a difference in my life. I cannot keep looking to the outside world, because when I want to make a difference in the outside world, it has to do with the outside, how the outside views me. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about the outside world. I felt very much that it's okay, it's not selfish to want to make a difference. I don't think anybody else felt this way. This is for me. This is what happened to me. And I didn't share it because I just didn't share it. I don't do that very well sometimes. I keep some things very much to myself. And so, but that weekend, I just looked at myself and I said, I'm the first, I'm, I matter as much as other people's sufferings matter. The world needs to change. We want the world to be better. We want the earth to survive. But for the first time in my life, with no selfishness, I looked at myself and I said, I want what's here to survive, to grow. Because if it grows, then it will be different for outside. But I cannot be worried about the world when I first have to worry about my own life, my own being, my own happiness, my own joy, my own loving. And it just became, I can't explain it because it sounds, even as I say it, it sounds, again, words are limiting to what happened to me that weekend.
No, I love it, and it's visible that you kind of found something there, and I love it because you know, I think you didn't complete that, but I think it was a sort of, you know, the first, you know, I am the first step, like if I can't skip that,
Right.
and how in my mind the sentence completed was like, you're the first and the only step.
You know, I feel like crying as you say this. I never gave myself that opportunity in my life. I was always doing. And that really hit me this weekend. It's okay to be the first and the only. It's not selfish. Because, you know, in one of those moments that, I don't know, one of the podcasts or one of these things that Michael Neal had done, he said something about the best thing that you can do for the world is to live. Like, I don't remember what he said, how he said it, but it was, you know, to be the best person you can for yourself, right? That's really
There's
the
that
best.
quote. There's, I don't know if that's the one that you refer, but there's a quote of Harry Truman, I think. There was something
Ah,
like, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, because what the
live.
world needs is more people who came alive."
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get. I couldn't remember what it was, but that's
Love
what
that
it
one.
was.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and this weekend it was all, I didn't share it. Like I was not able to connect I was able to connect that weekend, but I didn't share that. And I knew because I was just tasting it. Like I was just tasting it and I was like, I'm not going to say anything because it may go away. I know I've latched onto something for myself here. And it
That's
was
super cool. And I do think what you're saying and what we're saying here, I think it's even because I see sort of there is the model where like there is the the martyr, right? There's sort of like I'm all about the others, yeah. And then there are people who say, well, yes, but you need to take care of yourself as well, right? Or first, right? And the concept is, if you take care, if you're in good shape, then you can help others better, right? To me, this is different again.
even more. It's
This
more.
is about, in my opinion, seeing or at least tasting where impact comes from. And to me, it's very. I think the only way actually I can actually be of impact is to be as connected as I can with that source in me. That is really the only. And because then I have no idea. Because the truth is that this is something I saw a couple of years ago. It really had an impact on me. I made a video a long time ago, but I tell this story. I was going to um, we went to the groceries with my kid and my wife, and it was awesome. We just literally, if you would see from outside, a family doing groceries. There was nothing special. Yet to me, it was like the highlight of the year. It was beautiful. We're connected with loads of fun, and and then we went, we paid, we met people as we were going through this. We paid, we met the cashier, with, you know, and it occurred to me, and of course I'll never know. But the sense was, you know what? Who knows? Like I might have just changed the word, because I don't know if that energy touched the cashier, the person at the cash register, and that person actually will end up getting the Nobel Prize for, you know what I mean? Like there is this factor that we can't control. But the truth is, the more we are in the world with that, the more there's something else that I heard my colleague saying when he talks about transmission, right? About sort of in Buddhism. The idea is the transmission happens, but there is no exchange between the teacher and the pupil. It's
Mm,
just that something alive in the teacher awakens something alive in the pupil. And I think it's kind of this, as we are in the world, whether it's in a supermarket or in a word zone to help, as we are in the world with that, we help other people wake up to that too. And I think that is the real impact, the one that can actually change the world. It's that one. It goes back to people coming alive, right?
yeah.
And of course, it's awesome. I mean, I love people that say, hey, I went, I built a school in that place, or that is incredible. I don't think it's about comparing the actions. I think it's about, in a way, it sounds weird as I think it, and it's not, I'm afraid it can be interpreted in other ways, but in a way, it's like, it's about fulfilling a role. And because maybe if I was to go, if I were to go to build a school, I would only make a mess. Uh, and actually, it's funny. I just got this thing. There's something that my mom does always, and it's hilarious. Like I would have never in my life thought I would ever quote my mom in this kind of conversations. But anyway, and she's very Catholic. Okay,
Mm, mhm.
but besides the beliefs and stuff, she told me that she met this sort of spiritual guide, this priest, whatever, and she said, "Hey, I want to go to Africa, and I want to, I want just to be part of this. I want to help and build things, and and this dude pretty much told her, that's not your thing. It's not coming from there. It's coming from because you think that's the only way you can help." And what happened really was that this man who saw something brought her back to her path, and basically told her how being on her path was way more impactful than force yourself on somebody else's just because it looks cooler.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there has to be something there. I don't know exactly how it works, but with this premise, then it really is. That's the only step. The only step is coming alive more and more and touching people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I so see that. I so see that. And that weekend in New York, I'm going to be curious to see where that takes me, what I experienced and what I felt with the other people and what I heard them say. I'm curious to see where that goes. But and I'm sure it's very different from what I'm seeing right now, just because I'm going to end up seeing deeper. And then at some point I'm going to make that connection, right? Because that's how, again,
Yeah.
it's not linear. It just happens, right? It's all happening at the same time. But I was thinking when you said about the supermarket, I noticed the difference. I'm a person who smiles all the time. I don't even think about it. It's just like, it's in my DNA. But behind the smile, there's always something. And I noticed the difference when I do this, when I meet people, I'm always smiling. I notice, you know, most of the time people smile back. It's fine. I don't I don't expect anything, but I notice the difference when behind the smile, I'm in a different place. When I'm completely present, when I'm completely just in my being, experiencing it, just no, there's no words, no description. Oh, I'm happy today. No. I'm just completely connected to source, to myself, to that. That's why that the best thing I can do is come alive. When I'm alive in that and I'm smiling, all my interactions, I see something different in the way they respond. When I smile, people smile back all the time. But it's a different reaction when I'm smiling because I'm alive, like I'm connected to that. That I'm always alive, but sometimes I disconnect. I'm still smiling, but I'm disconnected. I'm disconnected. But when I'm connected, I see the impact right in front of me. What that impact goes, how it goes further, I don't know. But I know I see the person has changed because I see the joy. I see they're alive. Something in them is different, right? And then when I'm just smiling, I'm just normal. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm so happy, whatever. But I'm not completely connected there.
Yeah.
Here, I'm not alive, connected to that aliveness. I see the smile, but I see it differently. I see that I'm not, oh, it's like the Buddhist thing. I'm not connected to my aliveness. So when I look at them, I'm not lighting a match for them either. They're smiling, I'm smiling, and we're all happy. Yes, fine.
Have a
But
good
when I'm
day, sir.
alive, yeah, but when I'm alive, I do light a match in them. And I imagine that they must light a match somewhere else. Where? I don't know. I don't know. But I can see that impact. And yeah, to your point about the grocery store, you feel differently, right? Because you're alive. I'm alive. I feel alive right now.
How good is that?
I feel alive right
It's
now.
beautiful. I think that is the simplicity, right,
Yeah.
of it. And I think in a way we're lucky because one way or the other we're getting to see this.
Right.
But sometimes I still think, at least I get into those moments where it feels like, yeah, awesome. I know that there's this aliveness in me, but I also need these three other things. You know what I mean? Like it's not and I think that anytime I go anywhere that's sort of like that aliveness is not enough, I think I'll get to a point where I can clearly see that as simply
Noise.
no noise.
Noise.
And still sometimes, of course, I kind of follow that. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
true. How can
Yeah.
and then it becomes, it's funny because then it becomes almost a tool that is like, oh, okay, great. So I have to remember to bring my aliveness to that.
Oh
You
no,
know,
no.
it's the opposite. It's like you connect and then you do as a consequence. A behavior, it comes after.
Yeah.
It really is that. And I guess what happens sometimes, people are looking for this very thing, but they look for, oh, if I could make something, and that is to me the danger in purpose when it's mistaken.
Oh
Because to me,
yeah.
really, purpose is being connected to that force.
Right.
But when it becomes a task, when it becomes well, like my purpose is to help children in Russia, like whatever, or like support young artists to have a voice, whatever that is. The problem there is that I think, maybe not all the time, the idea becomes, okay, so as I do that, I will feel that aliveness.
Right. Right.
But it's actually the opposite. You feel that aliveness, and if it's true, if that is your inclination, you're gonna end up helping the young kids, but from the aliveness and not in order to get to the aliveness.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to a person once, like I think, yeah, 2 years ago, and he was telling me, I have this problem because I feel I was so much. He was in the music business. He told me, I it's the oddest thing, but like it's a while now that I just really feel that my calling, like the food business, the food area, wine in particular, is kind of is calling me. I just feel now I feel something there for me. Okay, well that sounds awesome, and so I say, yeah, but I can't. So why is that? Well, because it's my life passion is music. So now I feel like I know I have to stick with music, and that's what the danger is. Now it becomes a cage. Like, oh well, now I said that my calling is music, so I'm gonna have to be here. But maybe it can evolve, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that weekend in New York, what I saw people coming alive and discovering what they were interested in doing. And it was just really fascinating. Unfortunately, we have to put these words to them, right? Like sole purpose, whatever. But I knew that, and this is why I went. I knew the purpose was to come alive. People came alive with what they were doing, and I thought, and all these people, nobody young. I realized that transition is pretty good. Transition is pretty good, but yeah, it was coming alive. But I guess I guess what I thought was fascinating for me was I came alive to knowing that what you just finished saying, me, only me. I didn't say it. I kind of wish I had, but I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I didn't say
Yeah, I
it.
think that sometimes there is that feeling where it's actually, we just need to incubate that feeling.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it
yeah,
comes out eventually. And,
yeah, yeah.
and I guess, and of course that because it goes maybe to, but it's funny because at the same time, the moment we see like what that's only me, because really that is really me and my experience. That's really the only thing I can ever really. But at the same time, because it's only me, then it's everything.
It's everything. It's
Like
everything.
because then I am me, but I'm also the universe. I'm like
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, I have the same feeling that I have with the time thing. I sense there is some this idea, the sense of I can see. I can't help but see. I'm not at the point where like, oh yeah, oneness as in I don't see separate, and I see them. I see my wife. I see my kid. Like, but I do also have a strong sense that that is true, And also, I'm the universe and everything is within me is also true at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, you can't explain it, but it's about feeling it more and more, I think.
Yeah. You see, if we didn't have words, how easy it would all be, right?
We're
We
like,
would just have, we would, no, because it really, it's when we have to put it in words for, we have to do this, that it becomes the separation, you know, and when it's not put into words, that, I think that's why I didn't say anything, because I
it
just
wasn't
knew
about
that
the words.
it would be separate for me. It would never comprehend. I could not you know, I could not possibly transmit what I was feeling. But I was coming alive into something very deep. It's me, all me.
That's
And how
awesome.
is that going to impact? I am the universe. How could it not impact? How could it not impact for the universe to come alive?
I love that. It's kind of like, all right, so I want to change the word. Okay, where is the word? Here. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I really thought, you know, when you said about your friend, I was thinking, I've always been a person who likes to write. And I've also been very musically inclined. And I always thought, this or that, this or that. You know what I'm doing now? I'm doing both. I'm doing both. And I'm not saying, I'm not even putting words to it. Now it's not, oh, is writing my calling? Oh, is music my calling? Oh, is changing the world my calling? I'm really starting to see very, very deeply. Everything is my
It's
calling.
beautiful. Well, look, thank you. Well, thank you so much. It's been cool. I have like just to wrap up because I was thinking, okay, this is all really cool. But I can imagine a person maybe either is new to this type of conversation or whatever. I guess that because okay, great. One thing that came to my mind is like, guys, you convinced me. It's all about coming alive. How do I do that? What would you say to someone? Say like, wow, Lucia, wow, I listened to the call. It
Right.
was beautiful. How do I come alive?
You know, I think everybody comes alive on their own, in their own time. There's just no way to say this is the prescription, because it's not that way. I remember, I remember, you know, I remember many years going through this very difficult time in my life, very difficult time. And all I did was think about it. I couldn't live, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't eat, and it lasted for years. And one day, somebody said to me, "You should read this book." And it was a Pema Chardon. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she's a Buddhist nun. And somebody said to me, "You should read this." And I remember I went through this book about fear. And I went through a little book, like I took a whole afternoon and I just read it like in an instant. And then this person says to me, "Oh, you should read more books of this." But you know, I got online and the next book I found was the Dalai Lama. And I had seen the Dalai Lama for, you know, I had an opportunity to see him many years ago and I didn't take it because I was young. And I thought, who the hell is he? I know Tibet, I know, but you know, it was not important because I was not at that part of my journey.
Yeah.
But here I am, I get online searching because that little book of this Buddhist nun made such a impact on me. It was small, simple, 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 simple. And then I got online to look for her, and the Dalai Lama came right in my vision. And I clicked on, and I found his biography. And I ordered the book. And then I read it. And then when my friend said to me, "Did you order any more books of the Buddhist nun?" I said, "No, actually, I'm reading the biography of the Dalai Lama." And she looks at me, like I said, it's so normal. And she looked at me and she said, "What? no, you can't do that. The Dalai Lama, he's very difficult to understand. He's just like, you got to start with the nun. I said, why is he difficult to understand? You know, I was in so much pain. I was in the right moment. I understood the Dalai Lama. And one of the things I remember was, oh my God, 20 years ago, I was told I was in LA and somebody said he won the Nobel Peace Prize and he was in California. And my sister says to me, Usha, a dear friend of mine is very close to the Dalai Lama. She's in Los Angeles. Go, she's going to call you. Go. And I remember saying, oh, what a waste of time. Now I have to attend this woman and I'm going to have to see the Dalai Lama. Who the hell is he? And here I am 20 years later, reading his biography, unable to put down the book because I understood.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. And then one day, in this terrible time in my life, I was sleeping and I woke up in the middle of the night, like with a start, because when Tibet was taken over by China, the Dalai Lama was a young kid. And he went all over he was a teenager, he went all over the world, begging the world to help him. And nobody helped him. And I remember getting up and thinking, I've asked everybody to help me, and all I got was nobody to help me. And I was feeling so sorry for myself. But that moment I woke up, it was 3 a.m. I woke up and I thought, the world didn't care about the Dalai Lama, and the world didn't care about Tibet. Why would I think that somebody would care about me? This is so small compared to a country losing their liberty, being taken over by China. And I was feeling like I was being taken over by this terrible thing, looking to the outside for help. The Dalai Lama was a kid looking for the outside to help. And the world didn't care, and my world didn't care. And I got on my knees and I started to pray. And I said, oh my God, if this man at such a young age faced this, now look at him, he won the Nobel Peace Prize, 20 years ago. Look at where he is today. I started to cry. I realized it's going to be fine. And that was the beginning. And it was okay that the world didn't care about me or my problem, because the world didn't care about Tibet and the Dalai Lama, and I just like the enormity of that put my life into perspective, and my pain and suffering, the Tibetan people's pain and suffering. I just saw something so clear. I cannot put it into words, but I remember that was the beginning of my journey.
I love that. Wow.
And today, if somebody says to me, how do you come alive? I don't know what it is for most people, but I have to say, for me, it was experiencing pain and deeply experiencing pain.
What I think it's beautiful also in the story is that it's sort of like that because you say, okay, well, like there was this process of like the world doesn't care about me and it sucks, and then oh yeah, of course it's okay, it doesn't care about me because I'm so small, and you found that. But I guess the coolest thing is that what I hear at the end of the journey is like, and then I found out that the thing I wanted the world to help me with wasn't even in their hand to help me with, because I found it within me. So it's kind of like they didn't have they didn't have that anyway.
Yeah, they didn't have the solution anyway.
So that is even cool, because sort of like it goes from like, oh, why aren't they giving me the thing, to okay, it's okay, I guess, that they don't give me the thing because they didn't give it to them, to oh man, they didn't have the thing, they couldn't have me, you know what I mean? It was here all along.
Yeah.
What? To me, like, I think one of the shift that I notice with my clients is to go from, okay, great, how do I do that? How do I come alive, to realizing it's always been there, and it's about how do I stop pretending like I'm not alive?
Right.
How do I stop acting like I'm not alive? How do I stop myself getting so distracted that I don't notice that I am already alive? And I think it's cool because the game goes from a game of addition, like I need to add something, like how do I do this? What am I missing? To, shit, it's already there. I'm just doing too much. I'm just, you know, I only have to recognize it. And that's why I think in this type of work, understanding is so important. But
Yeah.
understanding, not conceptually, but really the moment of like that you were describing, the moment is like, oh my God, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that changes that, because suddenly like you saw it, I'm okay. And then a journey begins, of course, but the entire premise
It happened that night.
changes,
Yeah.
because it's like I saw I'm okay. Now it's like, okay, I want to learn. What am I gonna do with this? And great.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
the thing of it changes everything.
Right.
You're not
Right.
missing a piece here.
Right.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I just think
And how do you tell a person how to come alive? You don't. I follow Thich Nhat Hanh, and he never says, that's the other Buddhist, the Zen master from Vietnam. He never says, this is how you do it. All he does is talk about his experience. But, I'm at a stage in my life that when I read him, I understand.
yeah.
I understand. I read the Dalai Lama, I understand. I listen to Michael Neal, I understand.
And I think
I go to the soul purpose thing. I understand.
I think
I
it's
don't,
cool.
what are they saying? I don't know what they're saying, but I
I
understand.
hear, yeah, you
Right?
you see what you need.
Yeah, and that means I'm awakened something. I'm
Yeah.
alive. In that period, and I'm going to tell you the story, and this is very, very short. How it is really deep. It's always inside of us. When I was facing this thing, I was angry because this was my father's thing. And somehow I felt like, I had to face this. And one of those nights I went to sleep. And just like that night, I woke up in the middle of the night. Well, I was sleeping, deep sleep. And in my sleep, I saw myself sitting on the ground, cross-legged, like when you're meditating. I don't do the perfect cross-legged, but I was sitting cross-legged. And and it was dark. Yeah, I'm not very flexible. And it was dark. And I was very angry. And I was cursing. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you, God, fuck. I mean, I was so angry in my dream. And I was just cursing everything. Why me? Why me? Oh my God. This was after the Dalai Lama opening, right, moment, right? So I'm still, because you come in and out of it, right? You come
Of
in and
course.
out of it. And that night, I was so in that sleep, and I was watching myself with this anger. And when everything was let out, I'm watching myself this. It's like I think when people die and they watch their body, that's how I was watching myself. And I thought, oh my God, that's a lot of anger. And it just went boom. But when it was out, it was out. And I saw myself just sitting there, calm, calm. And then I noticed that there was a little light somewhere receding. And I thought, that I saw the light and I saw myself sitting there. And I was just sitting, like watching myself. I don't know how long, I don't know, dreams pass like that, seconds, right? Or like that. And it's actually a long time in the dream, but it was just like that. And suddenly I heard this voice. It's not a voice I knew I had ever heard or anything. It was just a voice. And the voice said, I never forget this, Nico. I have allowed your father to live, to face this for you. What more do you want, my child? And I woke up in that moment because I realized that I was fighting this thing and I was very angry with my father. But you know what? In that moment, I realized that this was not for me to face. This was for him to face. And I took it upon myself like it was me, but it was he that was actually facing it. And he was very, very upset and hurt and everything, but he gracefully faced it every day. And I was angry and I was this, but it occurred to me in that moment, in that dream, that I did not, it wasn't me, it was him. And I was just there for him. And that was like, again, awakening. Like I was like, you know, how many people suffer in this world, right? Everybody suffers, but you know, there I am thinking, why me, why me? And in that moment, I realized, no, not you. And then I, you know, that voice also reminded me, who was that voice? If you're religious, you'll say it's God. I'm not a religious person. I think religion is terrible for people because it really makes creation, like it makes people crazy. But who was that voice? Throughout the years, I have said, that voice was God, that voice was my higher self, that voice was this, that voice was that. You know, that voice was me. Me. And it goes back to that whole thing about coming alive or that weekend in New York. Me, I, it's all me. I am the universe. I knew, I know, I am alive. I forget sometimes. And so if you say, what do I say to your client? You don't say anything. You don't say anything because there's no way to come alive. You are already alive. It's a matter of seeing it.
And then I thank you so much. Like, it's a beautiful story and about the opposite kinds. What I agree, and I think that really the job is not to kind of answer that question. Is to, and what I notice is it's about showing, like, and getting them to see they are
Showing up.
already.
Showing up.
It's just seeing that you already are alive. That is really how you do it. But it's of course it's not a how.
Right.
But and that's kind of the beauty of this job, these conversations.
Yeah.
And the
You know,
story, I loved it. The one thing I kind of really what I heard at the end of it was like, wow, and how cool that voice that you recognize as you, it's always there for you to hear. And guys, sometimes I guess might show up as words, but you know, it's the same voice when you have that feeling that moves you towards this or that, and it's that voice. It's you. It's
right.
how cool is that?
How cool is that?
Thank you
You
so
know,
much.
you don't see this until you see it.
Yeah.
And then when you see it, you can never unsee it. You may forget for moments, but you never really unsee it.
Yeah.
I saw it and I've been able to unsee it. You know, it's like the Dalai Lama. I've never been able to unsee it. I hope someday to meet him because I have missed opportunity. but it wasn't my time. I was not able to see it. So thank you.
It was a beautiful chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out. Thank you. You touched me.
So
You touched me. Thank you for that.
I think that is the beauty of just two people being present, you know, to each other, to life, to truth. Magic happens. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nico. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.